I can understand why music can be difficult for deaf people to access. I can understand the trauma or negative attitude towards it. They are the people that I think about a lot. How can we change things? I was born in 1980. I have 3 brothers. They're all hearing, and I'm the only one that's deaf in the family. And I was born in London. We were all from London. My parents didn't know that I was deaf till I was 3. They realised that I wasn't speaking back to them. And compared to my brothers, I can remember growing up having new hearing aids, and I must have been about 4 or 5, and learning to hear. But I did feel like I was the only one that had that, and I didn't know what it meant compared to my brother. I do remember my brother seemed to understand more things quicker than I did, and going to concerts and places like that, they seemed to enjoy it, whereas for me, I seemed to have a lot of questions. I went to a mainstream school in London with my brothers, and I remember being confused in the classroom. I would not understand what the teacher was saying, but I would look at other people's work just to help me understand what I'm supposed to be doing. Yeah, I think it was quite stressful, but when I was 9 or 10, we moved to Chelmsford, and then that's when I went to a PHU, a unit for deaf children. That's when I finally had support and picked up sign language, and everything made sense for me. It was really useful to be around other deaf children my age, older and younger. We were all learning subjects together through sign language, which really helped me to make sense of everything. We had more friends, and that was the biggest thing. After primary, I went to a secondary school for the deaf, and there was 200 of her, and it was incredible. But it was a boarding school as well. It meant being away from home. That's quite a big adjustment, but I felt it was the right place for me, and I was really learning lots and lots of subjects. And one of them was the music lesson. Because I already played piano, I felt that I could understand a lot of things. And yes, it was music. I love art, but other subjects were quite hard, and I had to learn a lot to catch up with what they were. The boarding school was in Newbury, Berkshire, so that's about 100 miles away from home. We would stay for 2 weeks, sometimes 3 weeks, go home at weekend, do a lot of travelling. When I was at primary school, I had a CSW, which is a communication support worker. She would be sitting next to me, writing notes and explaining things and going through it. I would watch the teacher, but she would make sure that I would understand everything. But when I went to a secondary school, I was taught by teachers of the deaf, and they're qualified to teach deaf students. They can make sure that we all understood, though he was straight from the teacher, though he was quite different. When I was at primary school, I felt a bit lost and a bit fragmented within me. Children seemed to understand things, whereas I didn't, not always. But then when I went to a boarding school with 200 deaf students there, some of them were really clever. It felt like they got their lives together. Some of us were still catching up. And but for me, it was sign language that stringed up all the languages together, and I started to quickly learn about a lot of things and concepts. When I was a teenager, I was finally putting everything of myself together and feeling adjusted. Well, it's an interesting question about whether I felt undervalued as a deaf person. When I was playing the flute, I started at 12, and I was doing really well with it. A lot of my friends and the school with deaf children, they were all amazed at how well I was performing, whereas in the hearing world, where my parents hang around with other musicians, I felt a bit insecure, almost as if I shouldn't be there or shouldn't be doing it. I wasn't sure if music was a thing that deaf people could do. I didn't have many role models at the time. It was empowering me at the same time, just thinking about my future, what kind of work or things like that when it comes to music. With the school that I went to, it was the boarding school, what I didn't realise is we all grew up and then we all found our paths and careers. Some people went on to run here big deaf charities, done work for the NHS, done work in the field of interpreting, translation, done work in the art and legal shops or whatever. I've already built connection from those people, and yes, that was the most incredible thing, and that had helped my career in a way. Who you can talk to, who you can have as a trustee of your charity, who you can have all kinds of things that I think that impacted on my career. I've been working in music for about 20 years now. It's been incredible. When I graduated, I got my teaching diploma. I went straight on to music teaching flute and music theory to hearing students, because back then I couldn't find a job working with deaf children. David, hearing students, parents paid me. I did that for 15 years. And then just before COVID, I started thinking about deaf children, and I realised how they are undisturbed. So I started going into schools for deaf children, getting funding for projects like that. Ever since then, I'm always in teaching and running projects. I established my charity 3 years ago, and it's called Audio Visibility. Audio means sound, and visibility means seeing something. I put it together because when you can see it and get involved with it, you can understand what music is. It's not just hearing and listening alone, it's so much more. I would say my superpower would be seeing music in a visual way. It helps me to understand when you're playing, where are you going with your sound? What story do you want to show? What emotions do you want to have? And in some of my work, I actually do some painting and kind of artwork to show this, and I show it to my students. I appreciate what I'm hearing with my hearing aid, but to do then helps me to understand what to listen for. If we play it, I just want to do the gaps and the distances. This is the major scale, and when they put it together, it sounds positive. So this first line, this is C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. This is the minor key, it's dark on the minor, and it does start. You can use it for funeral. It's just weird, it's just seeing this, it's very different from, it doesn't look too different, but it does different. Composers use that to colour a piece or a performance. This is the chromatic bar, means every single note. They're at the bottom, C. My parents are both community musicians. My mother ran music group for babies and toddlers for about 12 years, and I was involved when my children was growing up. I thought it was incredible. And my father runs the Chelmsford Guitar Orchestra, and he's got 15 to 20 members, so he's running the orchestral group in the community, and that inspires me, and I do it as the same kind of layout set up for the deaf community. The more you do it, the more you bring people, the more you can make change. So I think the inspiration came from my parents. I felt when I was growing up, my parents, my music teachers, my flute teachers did not doubt my ability and what I could do, but they could see why I was facing challenges for people who did not know me. Doing auditions or applying to university, or they could see me, well, I'm a deaf person, and at the interview they would say to me, how could you do the listening assessment? They would ask if I could sing, because that's all part of music theory, and those were the challenges. And it took me 3 years to find a place at the music college to study flute, though I had a lot of step back, but never once my teacher or my parents said, maybe you should not do it. Try again, let's see what happened, or that little bit of hope. But I did have a backup plan. I was going to do art at the backup, but my heart was in flute playing. I went to the Royal Welsh College of Music and Drama, but before that I went to Trinity College of Music on a foundation course. That was before you do your degree, but I couldn't get into the degree. But my flute teacher taught me for another year, and that's when I did my performance diploma on the flute. Then every little bit helped. I teach in 2 deaf schools. I go to the one in London and the other one in East London. I'm teaching music in a class of deaf children, doing one-to-one. They could be playing the accordion, piano, percussion. And then in another school, I'm working in a mainstream class. There are deaf children, 5 of them, in a hearing class. We do lots of music activities and one-to-one. And then sometimes I'm out doing consultancy work, helping music teachers how they can increase deaf children in their work and practice, thinking about resources and development. Sometimes I'm doing workshops about how you can see and play music, all kinds of things, funding application, lots of things to keep me going. What I feel the most proud of in my working life, well, there's so many. It's quite difficult, both personally and for the community. I think personally had been flute playing. If I do a concert and I play my flute, yes, I'm quite proud of it. But for the community, it's when you do workshops to learn and work with the team, and then you do a concert all together to show people. I think that's incredible, especially when there are children involved. I can understand why music can be difficult for some deaf people to access and enjoy it. For some deaf people, they grew up at school not having access to music or the opportunity to learn. I can understand the trauma or negative attitude towards it. They are the people that I think about a lot. How can we change things? And also in my practice, when I'm playing flute and reading stuff, I need a visual representation of the work. I see things far more than my hearing, and I'm looking around at everything about music. So that's what my deafness has done to me. I make my employers aware that I'm deaf and how we can better communicate together. It could be making sure we see each other to talk, or get my attention first before talking. We write emails, do text messages, and we make that clear. Sometimes in a large group, I would book a BSL interpreter so that I'm not moving my head trying to catch who's talking, and also reduce the processing because English and BSL is very different. So I think awareness, and employers want to know how we can all work together. I have to stay advocate. Like, for example, I remember going for a job interview for a flute teaching job, and they did ask me, how would you know if your student played the wrong note? And I explained, kind of reminding them that I've got my teaching diploma, I've been trained, and I know the flute. I can tell whether they make a wrong note, I can see it, and I can actually hear the differences every note. Since then, I've been given a job, and my students have thrived and went on to university too. I wear hearing aids on both ears. Both my hearing aids are analogue hearing aids. I can't get on with digital time. They tend to modify some of the sound. If I'm really loud on the flute, they will reduce the loudness. It's there to protect your ear, but I don't want that. I need the loudness and the stop. And if you go softer, they amplify it, thinking I can't hear, I'm struggling to hear. I need the dynamic control. Some behind notes get cut off, and so if I'm playing on my flute, it doesn't sound quite right. So I don't get on with them, but with the analogue hearing aids, I wear them all the time. The interesting question to ask, what's important about my hearing aid. I've been wearing it since I was little. It was the programme that parents are told to make sure your child wears it, and it gives me a dent of styles around me. Sometimes I don't know what it is. Sometimes I will recognise a car going by. Sometimes it helps me to listen and look through. It taught me to listen to the flute and the piano. But without my hearing aid, it's quite peaceful. It's just silent, absolutely nothing. So I have both. I think hearing aid technology is always developing, but in some ways I think it's got worse. Analogue hearing aids are being phased out, and there's digital hearing aids these days, but it's not really made for music. It's really made for conversation, but for somebody like my son who's deaf as well, he left the Bluetooth feature on his phone so he can hear music very clearly, or when you want to make a call to someone, some things are working really well. But I think analogue hearing aids should make a comeback so that there are more options for people. Looking back to 12-year-old me, I could never imagine how high I would go as a musician. I think because of your deafness, you kind of get a bit worried whether you can do it. But I think it's music, it speaks for itself. It made me stronger. I just wish I didn't have too much. I wish I didn't worry too much. I just go for it, but I do. But remove the worrying.